Before starting the robotic procedure, the nurse installs the cassette on the robotic unit. This cassette has a sterile strap that covers all the robotic arm fixed at the table. An auto test is run to check the position of the cassette on the robot. Now the nurse is moving the robotic unit to position it in front of the puncture site. He connects the Y connector to the distal end of the robot, and then shapes the FFR wire under my instruction and introduces it into the guiding catheter. The proximal part of the wire is then quickly locked in the robot. As you can see, I'm now advancing the FFR wire into the LID. I manipulate the wire as I will do by hands, combining rotation and translation to drill it and avoid side branches to go straight forward into the vessel. As you can see, FFR on LID lesion is negative. Now I quickly remove robotically the FFR wire from the LID, and Thibaut removes the FFR wire from the robot. Here, under my control and my instruction, Thibaut positions the guiding catheter, which extubated a little bit. Here the communication is key between the physician and the nurse to avoid any safety issue. Then he connects again the Y connector to the robot and introduces the wire. I manipulate now the wire into the circumflex artery. At the distal part, the lesion is very tight, so we need to manipulate the wire very gently to avoid any dissection. With a combination of rotation and retraction movement, the wire goes straight forward into the main branch. Now the nurse introduces the balloon on the wire and then advances it with precaution to maintain the wire in position and locked it into the robot. Then I advance the balloon, first in turbo mode into the guiding and then slowly into the circumflex until the lesion. Thanks to robotic precision, I can position very precisely the balloon. Now we can start to predilate the lesion. This is the only step of the procedure when the nurse needs to be near the patient and the X-ray tube. Then I control by an angio to assess the side branch and the lesion to choose the stent length, and I remove the balloon robotically and manually by Thibaut. Now Thibaut loads the first stent to cover the distal lesion. I then advance the stent millimeter by millimeter. During inflation or contrast injection, for which Thibaut is in charge, it's particularly important to have a perfect audio communication and to have a precise language. Now I retract the stent robotically, and then the nurse removes it Again, paying attention to maintain the wire in place. Now we decide to place a second stent, paying attention to minimize the overlapping. This is a perfect example of how you can combine smart tools with, on one side, the new robotic millimetric mode to position very precisely the stent, and on the other side, the stent boost technology. Thibaut now inflates the stent under my instruction. Then I push the balloon to post-dilate the transition of the two stents. I now remove the balloon and the wire before the final angio, and as you can see, the result is good. The nurse disconnects the robot and I position my Jenkins Wright guiding catheter in the right coronary artery. While I'm going back into the control room, Thibaut connects the robot to the Y connector again. As you can see, the transition is very smooth. I now advance the wire into the RCA. As you can see, while I'm navigating, Thibaut stands behind a radio protection screen, so he takes no radiation and injects contrast when I'm asking for. The wire is now in the distal part of the vessel, and we decide to advance the stent without predilatation, and the progression is very smooth without any resistance. Now we place the stent precisely and the nurse inflates it under my clear instruction. As you can see, this is a perfect result and I can now remove the balloon and the wire. Thanks to the whole team for this great robotic case, and thank you all.